Welcome back to Old School Sports, and thanks so much for watching. This is our OOTP 23 playthrough of the Kansas City Royals, and we are at the start of free agency in the 2023 to 2024 off season. Last year in the 2023 season, the Royals were 82 and 80. We missed out on the wild card by 3 games, had a late season collapse that did not help us, obviously, but still made some progress over the course of the season. Expectations are higher as we get ready for 2024. Ownership definitely expects us to have another winning record next season. Also wants us to improve in home runs. And we're actually in the final year of our contract, so definitely going to want to make sure to at least have that winning record to hopefully be re-upped here with the Royals and get a chance to manage them into the future. As free agency begins, we've got a little over $9 million for free agents, but to open up that money, we've actually had to take a little bit out of our scouting and development budgets. Our goal is to hopefully not spend all of this money, but we wanted to have a little bit of flexibility as free agency begins, or potentially to make some trades. But scouting and development have been a real big asset for us over the 2 years that we've been managing the Royals. We've been able to turn into the best farm system in baseball, had some great international findings from our scouts over the last couple of years, and then I've also just had some really good luck in the draft, and certainly having a large player development budget has hopefully also helped enhance the opportunities for some of the players in our system to reach their full potential and even perhaps realize some skills that our scouts didn't even see in them. So want to continue to invest in player development going forward with the belief that we're not going to be able to outbid people for free agents in most cases. We're only going to get 1 out of every 30 picks in the amateur draft. And even when it's international free agency, going to get into bidding wars there and can't say that we're going to be able to consistently bring on people. So hopefully the continued investment in scouting and the fact that our scouting director, Travis Lee, is outstanding in international scouting will continue to allow us to unearth some players who are going to be able to be big contributors over time. That said, it's still time to start thinking about free agency and who's going to be available. 2 big holes that we want to fill this offseason. First is really a frontline starting pitcher. We feel like we've got 5 good, solid, major league average kind of starting pitchers, which is helpful, but we really need a top-end guy at the top of the rotation. The issue, not surprisingly, is that when you look at Jacob deGrom and Clayton Kershaw and Trevor Bauer, there's some great talent out there, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than we can afford, and even the second-tier pitchers are probably too expensive for us. So we may have to trade somebody away. We may have to do a salary dump to kind of figure out how to open up some money to bring on a really top starting pitcher. And the other position we really need to fill is outfield. If you remember last off season, we tried to fill our corner outfield spots, and we ended up bringing on both Jock Peterson and Kike Hernandez, who had solid, respectable seasons for us. This year, it's a little different for us. We need to bring on a center fielder because our starting center fielder for the last couple of seasons, Michael A. Taylor, is a free agent. Had a pretty rough bat for us over the last couple of years, putting up an OPS plus of 40 and 53, despite the fact that he is a extremely talented defensive center fielder. That means that over the course of the last 2 seasons, he was still a negative WAR player overall. So we decided not to bring him back. Going to be looking for someone who can hopefully still play a good defensive center field, but have a little bit more of a bat. But the options out there, while they're more reasonable than the starting pitcher options, aren't incredibly compelling to us. Anthony Alford is a solid defensive center fielder, but a below average bat also. I think you can probably say that about a few of the other people. Lorenzo Cain, a little more of a hitter, not as good defensively. We've had him on the team in the past. Jason Hayward, similar story. Kevin Kiermaier and Manuel Margot, a little better defensively probably, but still not much of a bat from either of them. So we're going to have to do some scouting of who's actually available in center field and who is actually available as a starting pitcher to try to fill those two holes on our roster. Other than that, pretty happy with what we've got. Got a good catcher and a good infield, and we do have the corner outfielders now with the two guys that we picked up last year. And just to kind of get everything refreshed as far as what happened in the organization, we didn't have anyone who actually went to arbitration. We signed everyone that we wanted before they went to arbitration. Most notably, backup catcher Cam Gallagher, $2.9 million. And as I was talking about the corner outfielders, that reminded me of Jeff McNeil, who we made a trade for last season. Hit pretty well for us, a little bit of a different hitting profile than some of the other players on our team, with excellent contact and excellent avoiding strikeouts. And he batted .309 for us with a 140 OPS plus. So we gave him $7.2 million offer, and he accepted that before arbitration, which was good. So he's going to likely be in a corner outfield and or DH spot for us this coming season, which may allow us to potentially down the line think about trading away either Hernandez or Jock Peterson if we need to open up a little more money while we're chasing after that center fielder and that pitcher. We also signed starter Brad Keller to a 2-year extension, average of $4.8 million a year. Another starter, Jose Suarez, $1.15 million for this year to avoid arbitration. And then obviously a lot of players who just got their automatic renewals at the major league minimum. So that is the map. That is the game plan for us. We want to add a starter. We want to add a center fielder. So we are going to start digging through the opportunity sets out there and see if we can come up with someone that we'd like to make an offer to. And honestly, I've been really underwhelmed by the center fielders who are available as free agents. So I decided to take a different tact and see if we could kind of just search for the best center fielders out there. Was looking for center fielders with 55 or better defense, contact, power, and eye. There's only 4 of them in the game. Mike Trout most notably among them. Would love to bring him on board, but I have a feeling the asking price will be way too expensive. But both Brian Reynolds and Kyle Lewis are interesting options. Kyle Lewis in particular from Seattle, only 28 years old. A plus defensive center fielder, particularly with that 70 outfield range. His batting profile is not overwhelming, but it's certainly better than Michael A. Taylor's. And when you look at his career batting stats, 98 OPS plus, 97 WRC plus, he's almost a league average hitter, and he's still an above average defensive center fielder. Now, he is making some decent money in the coming years, only $6.1 million this year, but then he's going to go up to almost $9 million and then $11.5 million, and then he's got a player option at a little over $11.5 million for 2027. So not going to be cheap to bring him on board, but if we can get a plus defensive center fielder with a major league average hitter, that is a big upgrade for us given how poor Michael A. Taylor has been over the last couple years. You can see the wars that Kyle Lewis has put up. 0.6 followed by 1.4 followed by 2.8 over the last 3 seasons at the major league level. If we get a little bit of excess production out of him in center field, the fact that we're not having a bat that's putting up a 40 or a 60 OPS plus, definitely going to be important for our offense. And I think although he's not as dynamic defensively as Michael A. Taylor, still a very good defensive center fielder. So let's see what the Mariners are looking for him. Not surprisingly, they're looking for a lot. Either our starting first baseman, 25-year-old Nick Pratto, starting catcher, 24-year-old MJ Melendez. Certainly don't want to get rid of either of them. And then they're also interested in three of the top prospects in our system, all starting pitchers. Spencer Bauer, who's the number 7 prospect in the game at this point, split last year between single A, high A, and double A. 23 years old, probably still a year away. Maybe he spends this year in the 2024 season, most likely in AAA. And then, maybe gets a call up in September if everything goes well there. Probably don't want to get rid of him. Similarly, Tyler Bosma, number 43 prospect in the game, 24 years old. He's the closest to the majors, pitched in AAA for 15 games at the end of the year, and after starting in high A and then moving on to double A. Put up a 5.32 ERA in AAA, which isn't exceptional, but that 387 BABIP indicates that he can probably perform better than that, and his FIP minus of 97, indicates it was pretty close to average performance from him despite the brutal ERA. The issue with him is he's out for 7 months. He just had elbow surgery in the beginning of October, so his appearance at the major league level is going to be delayed. Hopefully he's healthy by around the All-Star break and can rehab and do okay in AAA, and maybe we'll have him up towards the end of the year also. And then Caleb Lagerwell, number 19 prospect in the game, is the other one of our 3 really good starting pitcher prospects. You can see he's got 3 really good pitches, and he's got plus stuff right now. The issue is he's still working on his movement and control. Had him in single A this year, where he put up a 4.04 ERA, 113 ERA plus. Turned 21 years old about 4 months ago in July, so he'll likely be in double A this season, probably still a couple of years away, but I don't know that we want to give up one of our top 3 starting pitchers for Kyle Lewis, but let's see if we can, piece together a deal with some lesser prospects and maybe find something that Seattle finds enticing. And I think we may have pieced together a deal. We're giving up a lot of solid prospects, but nobody that's going to have a huge role for us. Would be giving up reliever Alec Marsh, who, 25 years old, has spent the last couple years in AAA, was fantastic in AAA for us this past year with a 1.85 ERA, but he's a right-handed reliever, does have enough stamina, and with 4 pitches can be a marginal starter, but, has a marginal profile for the major league level. Taylor Floyd hurts a little bit, but he is coming off of a torn flexor tendon in his elbow. He pitched really well at the major league level and at AAA this past year, but he's going to be 26 years old next year. Again, another right-handed reliever, doesn't have a lot of stamina, even though he does have 4 pitches, not great control. Don't love giving him up, but he's still kind of a replacement level-ish major league arm, I think. Second baseman Nick Lofton, a good solid prospect, hit 280 for us at AAA this past year. Profiles as maybe a slightly above average major league hitter, although he doesn't have a ton of power. But he's 25 years old, probably doesn't have a huge role with us. Charlie Neuweiler, starting pitcher, again, almost 25 years old, never been above high A ball, although he did pitch well in high A ball this year, but, profile at best is a average major league pitcher. And then AJ Block, probably profiles as a little bit below average for a major league pitcher. He is a lefty, but he's also 25 years old. I don't love giving up all of these arms, but there aren't any difference makers there. And by adding in the last couple people, we did also potentially get the Mariners to retain 30% of Lewis's salary, which would definitely help us. For what it's worth, JJ Piccolo, our assistant GM, likes it. Tom Davey, the Mariners GM, likes it. Would love to get them to keep just a little bit more of his salary. I don't want to blow the deal up, but every penny that we can save helps us. So I'm going to see if we can actually push it up to them retaining 40%. He says we're not that far apart. See if there's maybe one other piece that we can add in that will get the deal done. But we're going to go ahead and submit that and then see what happens over the next week or so. And then I've got to kind of figure out what to do on the pitching side too. As I mentioned, we got to add a starter. But the top starting pitchers out there are way too expensive for us, so I'm not really sure exactly what to do. But right now we're focused on this Kyle Lewis trade. We're going to kind of sim ahead and see if maybe we can piece something together on that front and at least fill one of the two big holes that we're looking to fix this offseason. And this worked out really well. Seattle has accepted the trade, and they're willing to retain the extra 10%. So every little bit of that salary that we're able to leave with Seattle helps us. As I mentioned, I don't love it, but it gives us a major league bat with a really good glove in center field, which has just been a huge hole in our lineup with Michael A. Taylor for the last couple of years. He just hasn't hit it all, and I think just having a respectable major league bat who can also flash a pretty good glove in center field in that spot is going to be really big for this team. So we are going to complete the trade, and the fans are excited about, well, not excited, but they're interested in Kyle Lewis joining us. And Seattle's going to retain a portion of the contract. So we've figured out our center field situation. The issue is now, we've only got about $6.3 million left to spend with the money that Seattle's retaining. So we're certainly not going to find a frontline free agent starting pitcher for $6.3 million. So we may have to continue to get creative in how we decide to proceed. And looking at the potential lineup, at least according to Mike Matheny, puts Kyle Lewis in batting 8th, playing center field against righties, and has him actually batting 6th, playing center field against lefties. So that's certainly, potential for him to give us more offense than Michael A. Taylor, who was batting 9th in both lineups previously. The interesting thing is bringing him on board. Jock Peterson is now out of the lineup against both righties and lefties. Kike Hernandez still in right field against both lefties and righties. Jeff McNeil, our left fielder, against both lefties and righties. And then Juan Yepez is our potential DH against both lefties and righties. And then we've still potentially got Vinny Pasquantino and Eddie Leonard as corner outfielders. So the question is, can we get anything for Jock Peterson in trade? He actually, was a league average hitter for us last year, 18 homers and 508 at-bats. Can definitely play the corner outfield spots reasonably well, can play center field for us in a pinch. Kike Hernandez, is a similar batting profile, did a little bit better last year in terms of his OPS plus, and he's actually a little bit better defensively at center field and just in general. They're both going to be making $6 million this year. I guess the question is, can we get anything for Jock Peterson in a trade? Because, taking $6 million off of the books would give us a lot more options to potentially bring on a starting pitcher. and would also give us a lot more options to hopefully get into a situation where we can put our scouting and development budgets back to where they were last season rather than cutting them a little bit. So I don't know how much people are going to want Jock Peterson, but the only way we can find out is by shopping him around. So let's see any prospects and regulars that people would be willing to give us for Jock Peterson. And there's definitely some options out there. So we'll kind of take a look at this, give it some thought, and could definitely be an interesting opportunity for us if we can open up a little bit of money by trading away Peterson, and that will give us more options to potentially really bring on a higher level starter. So there's no exceptional offers for Jock Peterson, not that you would expect that there would be, but there's some, solid major league players, and importantly, there's also, some minor leaguers that we've been offered for him. So if we just want to get that salary off the books to open up a little more money for a starting pitcher, definitely something for us to think about. But I'm also going to try to see if maybe we can do something similar to the trade that we made for Kyle Lewis and do a search to see if maybe there's a starting pitcher that we can make a trade for who's a little more cost effective. So we did a search for starting pitchers who all have at least slightly above average stuff, movement, and control. So just pretty versatile people. DeGrom is the only free agent out there. Obviously, he's going to be too expensive for us. But, this is kind of a who's who of pitchers. Definitely a ton of huge names out there. Obviously going to be people that are pretty difficult for us to afford. Logan Webb from the Giants. The issue is he's coming off of a torn rotator cuff, but really nice pitching profile there. I'm guessing they're probably going to be looking for a lot from him. Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is the only one that they would take straight up. We're certainly not going to do that. And then there's, the expensive all-star type players, the Cy Young Award winners, the perennial all-stars, your Wheelers, your Nolas, your Garrett Coles, your Corbin Burns, your Walker Buehlers, your Shane Biebers, as well as DeGrom. Miami with Sandy Alcantara and Trevor Rogers. What are they looking for Alcantara? Nick Pratto or Nicky Lopez are the only ones that they would take straight up for Alcantara. How about Trevor Rogers? 3 really nice pitches and above average stuff, movement, and control. Our scout a little more optimistic on him than OSA. Good personality. Bauer and Melendez, so one of the top pitching prospects in our organization, or our starting catcher. But maybe there's something to do with one of these guys. I'm going to do a little digging and see if maybe we can piece together something that would allow us to bring on one of these pretty good young starting pitchers. Trevor Rogers making $5.2 million this year, so we could fit him in. He's expected to make close to $8 million next year. Going to be getting expensive in arbitration, but he's a good pitcher. And what's Alcantara making the next few years? Oof, he's got bigger numbers, 9, 17, 17, and then a team option for 21. So I just think based on the economics of it, Rogers might be the way to go if we can pull something together. Well, it hasn't been easy to piece together a deal for Trevor Rogers. He's only 26 years old. 3 really good pitches, plus stuff, plus movement, slightly above average control. His stats haven't been great, 108 ERA plus. I guess the 82 FIP minus is a little more encouraging, that he really has been an above average major league starter. And I mean, each of the last 3 years he's put up at least a 3 WAR, although he's been trending in the wrong direction over the last couple of years. But he's a 26-year-old left-handed pitcher. He would be our ace. And he's still got a couple of arbitration years left after this, so we'd have him under control. Good personality with good work ethic, high loyalty. Was an all-star back in 2021. The issue is they're not going to give him away. We have to put in Frank Mazzucato, which is fine. You know, he profiles as a average major league starter at best, 20-year-old lefty, but a borderline starter, probably could be a pretty decent reliever at the major league level. But they were insistent that they get one of our 3 top pitching prospects. Caleb Lagerwell, they're pretty interested in. He's a right-hander. Actually, his potential profile is pretty similar to Rogers, with 3 really nice pitches, good stuff, potentially good movement, and potentially average control. Number 19 prospect in the game, only 21 years old, but he's never been above A-ball. Wasn't lights out in Class A this year, but, you know, if he develops that plus movement and gets to average control with those 3 pitches, he can be almost nearly as good a pitcher as Trevor Rogers. It's just that he's a couple of years away. J.J. Piccolo doesn't like the deal. I don't know that I like the deal. I mean, I like the deal. I definitely don't love the deal, but we need to improve our pitching staff this season, and we don't have the money to bring in one of the top starters. I mean, even if we were to trade away Jock Peterson, you know, that would get us to about $12 million. And all that really does is put us in a situation where we can bring on, you know, Mike Clevenger, Jordan Hicks, Kenta Maeda. Oh, I'm looking at his batting stats. I'm trying to figure out what those numbers mean. You know, he's been a bit above average over the course of his career, but he's 35 years old. He's not as good as Rogers is right now. Jordan Hicks is not as good. 27 years old. Over the course of his career has been kind of maybe a little bit above average when you factor in his ERA plus, which is a little below average, and his FIP minus, which is a bit above average. He's not as good either. Clevenger, we borderline whether we can even get him. He's going to be 33 years old next year. I like the fact he's got 5 pitches, but his movement and control aren't as good. ERA plus over the course of his career is exceptional at 135 and an 86 FIP minus. Obviously a really good pitcher, but 32 years old. Probably headed in the wrong direction at this point. Even just asking him to keep 5% of Rogers' salary, they don't want to do it. I'll see if they're going to take 10% of his salary, see what Kim Ng has to say. Gives me a little more time to ponder whether we should really get rid of Lagerwell. You know, I feel like we want to compete. We want to be in the playoffs this coming year. We certainly want to have a winning record, and we want to be in the playoffs after being the first team out in the American League last season. This would help move us closer, you know, between this and the other trade. You know, we're filling our 2 big holes. We're going to submit it and see what she has to say. Well, wasn't able to pull off the same magic where we got them to keep extra money without asking for anything in the case of Kyle Lewis. Kim Ng looking for a little bit more to do the transaction for Trevor Rogers if they're going to retain 10%. I mean, they're willing to take on a kind of mediocre 25-year-old Class A reliever to keep that 10% of the money. But I don't know if I really want to give up anybody for just 10% of the money. We've got the money to bring them on. Yeah, if we just take the money out, she'll do it. I'd love to hear what people think about this. Lagerwell is one of the top 3 starting pitchers in our organization in terms of prospects. It's going to leave us just with Spencer Bauer and Tyler Bosma as our potential 2 big starters to be coming up over the next season or so, and Bosma is going to be coming off of that injury, so he there's some uncertainty around him, and he's older. I tried to include him in the trade, but if we add in Bosma rather than Lagerwell, we still have to include another pretty good player. I think in a perfect world, would rather get rid of Bosma, who's almost as old as Trevor Rogers, going to be coming off of a serious injury. But that's probably why they're going to require more to do to take him on. So if we can do it straight up for Lagerwell and Mazzucato, I'm going to pull the trigger. We're not going to find the pitcher we need in free agency with the money that we have to spend. Let's go ahead and complete that trade. Ooh, the fans are excited by it. That's good. Our fan interest moving up, 73. We're getting respectable on that front. And we pretty much have about nothing left for free agents at this point. We got another $1 million that we could put back into scouting or development. But we have, on November 26th, done our 2 big goals for the offseason. Ended up getting Rogers and Lewis by trade rather than free agency, and had to give up a lot of quantity with, definitely some major league potential for Lewis, and had to give up some real quality for Rogers. But we've made the team better over the last couple of weeks, I think. The question is whether we're certainly a better team in 2024 and 2025 with these trades. 2026, 2027, we may have, hurt ourselves a little bit, but we'll deal with 2026 and 2027 when we get there. I think the off-season is off to an interesting start. And not surprisingly, looking at what Matheny wants to do with the pitching staff, Rogers obviously slots in as our number 1 starter. It's going to potentially push Bubic out of the starting rotation and into the bullpen, where he'd probably be even more effective. So definitely helps us. I feel like we've made the team better, but we've spent a lot to do it. I can't pretend that there's been no cost involved in the players that we brought on. So I know I've been kind of rambling, and we've only kind of simmed ahead a couple of weeks while we've been talking, but I think I'm going to call this one an episode. I'm very interested in what people think about the trades we made. Did we pay too much? Did we mortgage the future? Is this the completely wrong way to be trying to play as the Kansas City Royals? Maybe it is. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But we are definitely a better team on November 26th than we were on November 1st. We've added in the top starter in our rotation, and we've added in a center fielder who can actually hit the ball and still plays a pretty darn solid defensive center field. So we have made the team better, and we haven't blown our budget. So I'm optimistic. I think wouldn't have made the moves if I didn't think they were the right thing to do, but I can certainly understand how people may have other opinions. So would love to hear your thoughts down below, and in our next episode we will come back and complete the rest of the off season. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.